And the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Last week, a closed session was held pursuant to Government Code 54956.9B1 with counsel conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure. One case, there is nothing to report. I'd like to move to the consent agenda. Is there any member of the board, staff, or public who would like to pull a consent agenda item? Yes. Which item would you like to pull?
This is the Red Cross.
Red Cross.
Oh, got it. Okay,
Yes.
we'll pull item number 3. Thank you. Don't go away. Any member of the board?
Item 4, please.
Oh, 4, yes, thank you. Okay. May I have a motion on the balance?
Yes, I move the balance of the consent agenda.
Second. We have a second.
Second from Mr. Thomas. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes on a 5-0. Thank you. Item number 3.
Yes, my name is Carol Metzner. I'm the Mother-Lode District Manager for the Sacramento Sierra chapter of the Red Cross. I would like to thank the board for your resolution making March Red Cross Month here in Calaveras County. I'd like to tell you a little bit about our chapter and our activities here in Calaveras County. First of all, we are the Sacramento Sierra chapter. Part of that, we cover a 9-county area going all the way from metropolitan Sacramento to Alpine County, so it's a big chapter, very diverse. My office is in Sonora, and I cover Amador, Calaveras, Tuolumne, and part of Alpine County. So in this area, we respond to large disasters as well as small disasters. If there's a need for a evacuation or a large response to something, we work very closely with the Calaveras County OES department. They are wonderful partners for us, and we are so pleased to be able to work with them. They're great coordinating opportunity. Red Cross cannot and does not work in a vacuum. We like to have contact with county agencies, governmental agencies, as well as other non-governmental organizations. And by working with the OES, we're able to coordinate all that and provide the citizens of Calaveras County with the very best possible service that we can. I'd also like to introduce, I wanted to talk a little bit about Haiti. Terry Bullock, who is our OES link here, is with us today. He has some handouts that we can give to you. Obviously, Haiti has been in the news a lot. On our district alone, we've probably raised $25,000 to $35,000 just in this area alone to benefit Haiti. We've had some very, very nice donations from our local businesses. The Angels Market and Murphy's Market just donated almost $7,000. They ran a $1 donated for every 25 spent at both of their markets, and that was the results. So that will be heading off to Haiti. But we also do local responses. We respond to anywhere between 30 to 50 single-family fires here in the Mother-Lode District, and that is always, as always, the bulk of what Red Cross does. But we do have about 30 volunteers here in Calaveras County that are responding to those single-family fires, but who are also ready to open shelters and prepared to operate those shelters and feed people should there be a need for a large evacuation. And I would also like to take this opportunity to introduce to you our new Emergency Services Director, Mr. Phil Davis, and I will let him come up and talk to you a little bit and tell you a little bit about his background. And thank you again so much for recognizing Red Cross.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Phil Davis. I'm your new Director of Emergency Services.
Thanks for the resolution. We do appreciate that. In my previous life, I have spent some time in Calaveras County fighting fire. And I had a 30-year career in the fire service before being recruited by the Red Cross, and had an opportunity to spend some wonderful nights at the Jumpin' Frog Fairgrounds, at base camp, or sleeping on the ground in Sheep Ranch. So I just wanted to say thank you again for the resolution, let you know that I've only been on board for about 2.5 months. I am anxious to get to know all of the 9 counties that we serve, and should an event occur here, and we're working cooperatively with you and your OES, setting up shelters. I just wanted you to know the face and the name, because I'll be around assisting. Thanks again.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. I know that Calaveras, through our MAC team, because I've seen Terry there several times over the year, worked very closely with the Red Cross whenever we've put them emergency, the MAC, what is it, Terry? Multi-agency coordinate, thank you. You get so used to the acronyms, you forget what it stands for. Over the years, we've worked very closely with the Red Cross, and we appreciate the partnership that we have. Thank you. So,
Move to
my
adopt.
colleagues,
Move to adopt the resolution.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Nobody will oppose. It passes on a 5-0. Thank you. Mr. Kelly.
Joe Kelly, the proposed County Assessment Appeals Board Conflict of Interest Code, Section 9, disqualification. No designated employee shall make, participate in making, or in any way attempt to use his or her official position to influence the making of any governmental decision which he or she knows or has reason to know will have a reasonably foreseeable material financial effect distinguishable from its effect on the public generally, on the official, or a member of his or her immediate family.
Mr. Kelly, could you please tell us where you're reading from in the code?
Disqualification, Section 9.
Please proceed.
How is suing the county in Superior Court, which is the requirement within R&T codes, California Board of Equalization's Assessment Appeals Manual, to seek remedy through the court's review of a Calaveras County Board of Equalization hearing for the following reasons? 1, lack of due process. 2, actual or constructive fraud. 3, abuse of discretion. 4, an erroneous appraisal methods incapable of producing the correct value. Somewhere in the 4, the issue of a Board of Equalization member introducing personal knowledge of comparable sales into the testimony during the appeal hearing. Again, how is suing the county in Superior Court a conflict of interest to a citizen, a taxpayer, applying for a position on the Assessment Appeals Board? September 1st, 2009, Agenda Item 8, discussion and possible action regarding appointment of applicants to the Board of Equalization Assessment Appeals Board. Vice Chair Callaway declared the applicant, Mr. Kelly, has a conflict of interest. He's suing the county. A letter requested by Chairman Thomas, filed with the clerk, noticed in correspondence, has gone unanswered. Madam Chair, no one has attempted to clarify your statement. Will you do so now publicly? Your alternative is a public apology to me. Your continued failure to clarify your statement will emphasize your lack of personal conviction. Your apology could provide for allegations of discrimination. Take your pick. This is your election year and you created the issue. Will you resolve it? In closing, you denigrate the integrity of the Superior Court. Thank you.
Appreciate your comments, Mr. Kelly.
Pardon me?
Appreciate your comments. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to address on item number 4? If not, may I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
A motion by Mr. Thomas, second by Mr. Tryon. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes on a 5-0. Thank you. I'd like to move to public comments. These are items that are not on the agenda, and no action will be taken by the board. Direction could possibly be given. Does anyone have an item they would like to discuss that is not on the agenda? I'd like to now move,
Good morning, Howard Stolman, your Chief Information Officer. This morning, each of you should have received a letter of support for the Motherlode Broadband Project. I think it was laid on your chairs or someplace on your desk. This is not the same two items that I will be addressing a little later on in the meeting, but is a separate application through a different federal process for stimulus money. So what I would like to do is acknowledge this request. It is a complimentary request for support, and then seek your authorization to work with the board chair again to develop a letter of support for this project as well.
so, Mr. Stolman, what you're asking is that you would just like to work with the person who wants us to write this letter, and you will bring it back at another time? Because
Yes.
it isn't agendized, and it is somewhat related to item 11 and 12, correct?
It is related in that it is a stimulus application for rural broadband. It is going through a different federal process, and it actually addresses a last mile issue. Our
Is the middle mile.
application is a middle mile.
Okay, do any of the board members have a problem with Mr. Stolman proceeding, and then it will come back?
No, but
to
I
the
have
board?
a quick question. It seems like we have lots of different entities that are wanting to provide broadband for the county. And it would seem to me that there'd be some sort of efficiencies if these folks would work together rather than having a whole bunch of sort of independent requests. And so I'm basically assuming that you and your department are providing, to the extent possible, some coordination between these entities?
We are.
Okay.
And I will cover that in a little more detail as we move forward.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, Howard, proceed. Go ahead. Thank you. Okay, since there's no other, okay.
Good morning. My name's Bonnie Newman. I'm from Double Springs, and today I'd like to talk about Gila monsters. You know what a Gila monster is? It's a short, stubby little lizard-like creature that lives in the desert. If it's 12 inches long, its jaws are about 6 inches, and it has this vicious clamping bite, and it's poisonous. And when I was a kid, my dad used to go prospecting. I used to go with him, and he'd tell me to watch out for Gila monsters, because if you turn over a rock and you see one, get out of there quick, because at first they don't move very fast, but pretty soon they warm up and they get mad, and then they'll really go for it, go for you. So I kind of think I'm kind of like that Gila monster. Somebody turned over my rock, I kind of got mad, and I can't let go. And in doing so, when the public authority turned over my rock last summer, I got a hold of the public authority, and I started doing a lot of questioning, investigating, and what I've been able to do is get what I wanted. I got the material from Mary Sawicki that tells me how the public authority began and all the basic premises for why it's in existence and what the intent all is. And in doing so, I've come up with this idea, and I shared it with Steve a couple of weeks ago, that something that's missing in, I think, the mother lode in general is something I heard you guys talking about, a joint powers of agreement, which could be a public authority entity in the rural counties where it's required to have one, and yet a lot of the money that is spent in a public authority is going towards administration. So if you have 3 administrators and 3 staff in 3 counties that are sucking up all the money, then you don't really have a whole lot of fallout to the masses. And so this is something that I'm going to be proposing today because at 1 o'clock at the library there's an IHSS advisory board, and I am going to present to them the idea of a joint powers of agreement so that not only money will be saved, but efforts can be coordinated in a small rural area, which hasn't been done in the state yet. Everybody's doing their own thing, and it just seems like a big waste of money. So that's one of the resolutions to all this ragging around and grinding away that I've been doing about the public authority and the IHSS, and so I just thought I'd share that with you. So today I will be sharing that with them. Hopefully they'll get onto it because I don't want to do it myself anymore, and I think it's up to higher powers than I, whether it's the IHS Advisory Board, whether it's the Welfare Department, or whether it comes back to the Board of Supervisors to, you know, think of something a little more innovative, a GPA between Tuolumne, Calaveras, Amador, Alpine, I don't know who else small, but it really might be an answer to the problem that I've been griping about, one of them anyway. So thank you. So,
Thank you, Ms. Nimmer.
and I just want to, I'm sharing this with the advisory board because they haven't seen it either. So this is new stuff, and it's not secret anymore. It's not snaky. So thanks.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Terry Baker from Railroad Flat. I'm here to talk today about the illegal cock ranch again that I've been talking about for the last 4 years, I think, 2 years here. But first thing I'd like to say is I'm here to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. My supervisor, Steve Walensky, is a very, very corrupt and very, very dishonest and very, very sleazy person. He lied to my family and neighbors
If you have
for
things that
over
you
a
would
year
like
and
to
a
address,
half, making us believe that he was helping us. He was only covering his ass from being
Mr.
discovered
Baker, I do not
for
allow...
who and what he really is, a weasel. He has encouraged this problem and has rewarded the convicted
Mr. Baker,
defendant with the
Mr.
ability
Baker,
to
I will
torture
not
their
allow
neighbors with 5
words like
times the
that
amount of
in this
noise
boardroom.
that was convicted
This board
in
is now
2000.
going to take a 5-minute recess.
I
on
was
Mr.
okayed by
Baker's
this.
time.
So, Steve
We're
has
taking
now
a
granted
5-minute
immunity
recess.
to the convicted defendant without ever going before a judge. With Steve and his corrupt ways, this county should get rid of the courts, the judges, and the sheriff's department, because we have Steve's justice system, and that system is as corrupt as Steve himself. We have in our possession the proof we need to prove to anyone who will listen. We can show anyone the numerous falsified documents from the sheriff's department, backdated court documents, the perjury in court that played a big part in this scam. This has been going on for 4 years now, and we do not want to move from our beautiful property. But Steve has encouraged our neighbors to run us out, just like he ran Kim Angeles and Joe Paul from their home that they spent 10 years building. If you don't believe me, please go to google.com and click on the word we praise and see what the convicted criminal Carolyn Redmond says about her hero, Steve Walensky, for letting her continue her crime spree and turning our beautiful
I'd like to reconvene the meeting, please. If you have some conversations you would like, please go out into the hall. Thank you. And if they're real good conversations, let us know. We'll take another break and join you. I'd like to move back to item 9. Is there anyone else who has an item they'd like to discuss not on the agenda?
Al, you're not going to yell, are you?
I hope I'm treated kindly.
Don't push it.
I'm Al Segal of the Calaveras County Taxpayer Association, and I'd like to share. I've sent our Vice President, Bob Mulvaney, spent some time thinking, which is a very good thing, and he put together 10 suggestions.
We received it, Mr. Segali.
Huh?
We received it.
Well, that's good. Okay, now your public can also get it, and it's good that they also hear these 10 points. The 10 principles, the first one is, this is concerning our general plan update, and the thrust of this is to try to be more property rights friendly.
Just remember, you have 5 minutes, so you might...
You want to start me now?
No, you're now 41 seconds into your comment time.
The first one is the document shall use only common words with precise meanings. The general plan is not a blueprint. It is an ordinance with the force of law, and to be effective, it must be clear, generally understood, and accepted by the public and easily enforced. Such words as sustainability, vision statement, rural character are vague, subject to many interpretations, and therefore unsuitable as legal text. Second, land use regulation should be cumulative, such that any use permitted in a more protected zone be permitted in a less protected zone, thus allowing mixed-use development. Third, in lieu of a list of defined conditional uses, any use not expressly permitted in a particular zone shall be deemed a conditional use subject to the customary approval process. This will allow flexibility, allowing for special or unforeseen situations. Fourth, all existing land uses on a parcel at the time the GPU is adopted shall be deemed permitted uses in perpetuity unless changed under terms of the 6th principle below. Fifth, existing residential neighborhoods shall not be rezoned to accommodate higher densities and or development limits, such as smart growth, except by 2/3 affirmative vote of the property owners in the said neighborhood. 6, variances or amendments to the general plan may be made upon application of a property owner and approval by the customary process. B, when initiated by the county or a public agency with the written consent of property owners involved in an affirmative vote of not less than 4 supervisors, including the supervisor representing the affected districts. By eminent domain, C, under eminent domain, when the property owner is justly compensated for loss of use or reduction in the economic value of his property or other loss due to the amendment. 7th, zoning and variance permits shall automatically take effect within 180 days of application unless denied by the county for clear, well-defined reasons expressed in the general plan. This is practiced successfully in Oregon. Placing the burden of stopping a particular land use on the government eliminates unreasonable long delays. 8th, zoning and conditional use application fees shall be reasonable and shall not exceed the reasonable direct costs of the process. 9th, to eliminate duplicity, all zoning and land use ordinances and regulations shall be consolidated within the general plan and shall become the sole ordinance governing land use in Calaveras County. 10th, and the last one, the permit application approval process shall be simplified, streamlined, clearly defined, and included in the general plan document. This can be found on our website at calaveras-taxpayers.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Segali. Does anyone else have an item that is not on the agenda?
Joe Kelly, would you please clarify as to what you found offensive before you closed down this meeting, you shut off the microphone?
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Kelly.
I don't think that's enough, ma'am. You have public comment here. And Attorney General Bill Lockyer has ruled all agenda items are subject to public comment.
And you were
turn
giving
it
your
around.
public comment, Mr. Kelly.
I have 5 minutes, I believe.
If you would
Do I
like to
not?
talk for 5 minutes, please go
Well, I'm
ahead.
asking questions because you're putting up something that now no one knows what they can say or what they can do up here. I am truly surprised you didn't gavel me. Even though I did no vilification, I spoke the truth and I stated what you stated. I do find it in the past with Mr. Thomas, I've got the gavel. Well, why don't you folks tell us what kind of a county we're in here? Are we in where you're the rulers or our representatives? That's an issue. It's a good thing it's an election year. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any comments they'd like to address to the board not on the agenda?
I do.
Yes, Mr.
I would like to make my position clear on this issue of disrespectful behavior. I think that it's a personal affront to me when someone comes to the podium and puts my reputation and my motivations under question. I try to conduct myself with civility and respect, and from my personal point of view, I can't speak for the other board members, but I applaud Supervisor Callaway's or Chairman Callaway's shutting down the meeting to let Mr. Baker talk to himself. It is not in the best interest of this community or this county to have a totally disrespectful interchange in this board. So that concludes my comments on that subject. Thank you.
Mr. Walensky.
As the recipient and subject of the presentation that provoked this, I have a couple of things to say as well. I think people have the right to believe what they believe and think what they think, and in this country say what they have to say. However, the facts may differ from it. However, the emotions may take over a particular moment. I believe people have that right, and it is as close to absolute as, I guess, Frankfurter set some limits on calling fire in a crowded theater. My sense of this is that citizens who expect a functioning democracy have both a set of rights, and free speech is probably the most central to all of our rights, freedom of association being pretty important, and all the Bill of Rights. But with those rights go certain responsibilities. For what we say and what we do to one another ultimately unravels the basis of trust and effective relationships that make a democracy work. So my hope would be not that we would use gavels or regulations, but that we would use courtesy and consideration for others as the basis for our dialogues.
Thank you, Mr. Walensky. I think he said it well enough for all of us.
Can I respond?
No. If there's no other public comment from people who have not spoken, then I am going to move to item 10. We have an item before us, changing the position control list for the administrative office. Ms. Osborne.
Good morning. Francine Osborne, Director of Human Resources and Risk Management. The item before you is a follow-up pursuant to board direction and as part of the offer of employment with our new county administrative officer. At that time, the board committed to additional staff for the administrative office in order to carry out the board's goals and objectives. The county administrative officer has been in the position and has had the time to evaluate the duties and staffing levels necessary for the office. Excuse me, I've had a cold. The request before you today is to downgrade a senior administrative analyst position and fund it at an administrative analyst level and to create a new Chief Assistant CAO position. With the economy, the state budget crisis, and the continuing constant budget analyses required, these positions will provide the additional review and depth for the office. However, it is important to point out that it is acknowledged that these are trying times, but the additional staffing for the administrative office needs to be a priority in order to meet the challenges that the county faces not just today, but in the future. This is really an investment in the administrative office, and it's important to their success. If staffing levels are not increased, the existing staff of 3 will be unable to meet the budgetary and administrative needs of the county. The board packet in front of you today is very detailed. It explains and outlines the responsibilities of the office and the positions. It provides justification and rationale, as well as the fiscal impact. We are asking the board today to approve a resolution authorizing changes to the position control list for the administrative office, as well as a budget transfer. The CAO and myself are available to answer any specific questions you have on this matter.
Okay, are there any questions of Ms. Osborne at this moment? I do, Russ, did you have any? I do want to remind the board that we discussed this thoroughly, the impact, the financial impact on the county when we were interviewing Ms. Boyce for the position of CAO. It was a commitment that we made because of the multitude of tasks that are done in the administrative office. Administration is not what people consider a popular department, but we have numerous items that have fallen in the cracks because we haven't had a complement of staff. I do understand some people want to address this issue, and I want you to know the board is extremely sensitive to what it is that is proposed before us. So, Ms. Osborne, I think I'm going to just, if there's no questions or comments by the board, I'm going to open it up to the public. Thank you.
I have a question. What is the bottom line cost of the measure?
For this year, it was, I believe, $84,000. And Francine, and for the following year, it was $245 all-inclusive.
Correct.
Is that my close?
That's correct.
Yeah,
It does include the new...
$245
Yeah.
all-inclusive.
That's correct.
You're welcome.
Yes, my name's Darrell Rusk. I'm at 101 Melcher Lane, Burson. And I do have a comment on this item.
Could you please speak into the mic, Mr. Rusk? Thank you.
Hello, Mike. Is that better?
Yes, thank
All
you.
right, sorry. Do you wish me to introduce myself again?
No, I think we've got it.
The item before the board is one that I agree with and support wholeheartedly. There are many commissions and boards, at least 3 of which I'm on in one capacity or another, and our needs as various commissions for support and various actions on the part of the CAO's office are going to be more demanding in the coming year. And so that's going to add pressure to what is already a very short staff. So, yes, I'm supportive of that.
Thank you, Mr. Rusk.
Jim Turley, representing SEIU. We understand the theory of being short-staffed since this board cut in excess of 70 positions last year. the majority of which belong to SEIU. So we are all dealing with being short-handed and trying to serve the public. To add another $250,000 plus to our expenses via non-general fund charges or general fund charges is not acceptable, when we could basically take the jobs and descriptions that were provided by the CAO and put them out into the different departments. We have qualified engineers, qualified planners, qualified building people. We have code compliance officers. You are going to hear in the next proposal that we have to take another 17.5% cut this coming year. In the realm of 10% layoffs, 7% PERS, and you're going to stand here and vote on increasing staff in one department and turn around and tell the rest of the county that you have to take pay cuts in order to do this. That's ludicrous. That's insane. It's not right. We're all short-staffed. We all have jobs to do, and we do it to the best of our ability. And to look at people and be able to look them in the eye and say, we're going to spend $250,000 of your money to increase staff and then lay people off, not right. Take another look at it. This bait and switch, moving the shelves around to make your finances work, won't work anymore. And it goes from the county level to the state level. You have to rethink your position. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turley.
Good morning, Rosemary Wilson, McCullum Hill, Church Street. Would it be possible for there to be an explanation in more specifics or even general terms as to what we were not getting done in the past and what we will be able to achieve in terms of services, grant applications, representation to the state, etc., and perhaps have that estimated in some type of monetary sense so that I could better understand the benefits of changing the structure within the county administrative office.
Yes, we will do that. That's a fair question.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anyone else have anything else to say? Close the public comment period, and I'm going to bring it back to the board for discussion. I think we could take Ms. Wilson's question first. I can address some of that. Just has happened within the last month. We almost missed out on a grant of $25,000 that was due in 2 days. Just fell through the cracks. That it came into the administrative office. It was not sent out, and just due to being caught by the administrative office, we are receiving funds for energy retrofit for Government Center. We had the new Maloney's letter that had to be addressed right away due to the short time frame. We have the master plan that we're working on, the partnership between the animal shelter, the Humane Society, and the county. The budget has become now a year-round process. We had a last-minute discussions that our CAO had with the state senator, Cox, and with Assemblyman Berryhill on having the county of Calaveras be included as one that will not, that will receive monies and will not be deferred, like the highway users tax. We had a day to respond to that. These are the type of issues that happen all the time. We had one, just the meeting that we had with the water district that was put together in cooperation between CCWD and Calaveras County. We have oversight of, we meaning the administrative office, when I say that, the board has oversight on everything, is the museum, the archives, the airport, coordinating about the jail, which the administrative office and county council went with the sheriff's office to Sacramento. We now have a team that's working with us on that. So there's a whole host of things that come up that it isn't as if you could. And I understand what Mr. Turley said. I think the board is extremely sensitive to that. When we discussed it in great detail when we interviewed Ms. Boyce, because she used to be part of the administrative office. I mean, 10 plus years ago, there were 5 people in the office, and over time, it's down to 2, then 3, and now it's 3. Government, and I wish I could say was easy, it's not. It's become complex, and most of these issues are last minute, and they fall under the jurisdiction of the CAO. I mean, it'd be nice if you could call the planning director and say, go to Sacramento and work on the jail. It's not going to happen. Or to call a code enforcement officer and say, work on the animal shelter. Those are things that have countywide impacts. So I really don't want SEIU or any of the other bargaining units to think that the board is not sensitive to this issue. We are very sensitive to it. We have capital improvement projects that we're working on, the purchasing for the county. The fact that if we don't plan long-term, we're going to get further behind as a county, and we're going to be in deeper problems than we are now. So, you know, it is going to be up to the board. I mean, I know you're asking for a dollar amount to each of these things. You know, that would, I'd have to go back and see how much time do they spend on this, that, and the other. I don't think I can do that. Yes, Rosemary?
May I respond?
Yes, please.
I know sometimes the organization needs to spend money in order to be able to strengthen their positions when they are competing for funds, and that you may well get more back in return for doing that would ultimately benefit the county. I woke up this morning to the Channel 3 on the television to see that Calaveras County was one of the 9 counties that had been awarded funding from the state, I think, to do with flooding or
It's the presidential declaration of emergency, which allows the county to recoup some of the costs that were incurred during the snow emergency.
And so that is an example, I suspect, of where having high-level administrative people and assistants can work towards the ultimate benefit of the county and representing them better, much in the same way as, I suppose, as Steve Walensky has been able to. And I probably should not just limit it to Steve, but
Yeah,
Steve...
one call out today is enough for me.
that District 2 at least has been able to initiate additional grants and been able to receive funding and benefits from that work. Is that the sort of additional thing, type of work that we could possibly look forward to in expanding or upping the staff or the level of staff within the county office?
Oh.
No, I finished. I had a question mark at the end of that.
I wasn't sure if that was a period or a question mark.
bit.
Okay. Steve, did you want to respond?
Yes, I would like to respond to that and add to some of your comments. This is a tough issue before us, and the timing couldn't be worse. But we also have to think about how to survive these times and how to deal with both the threats that we face, and I think Marita spoke of those, and you'll see in our next agenda item a plethora of threats. But one of the things that's characterized this county for a number of years is missed opportunities. The question is, who's responsible when the federal government throws literally billions of dollars toward California and it's competitive between counties? Who's shovel ready? Who's got things that are already there and in our plan? When we calculate the cost as well as the benefits, economic benefits of layoffs, do we have an accurate figure, or have we found ourselves through accident thinking that it's all in the savings and that we're not going to pay enormous amounts in unemployment insurance, which offset some of the benefits of or what people might have thought, or policymakers might have thought as the benefits of layoffs? What about CDBG and the funds that we've had and how they've been handled here? And are we effective at both receiving those monies and administering them in a good way? What about the literally millions of dollars that we have lost by not having a housing authority or having somebody managing the housing in this county? Most other counties do that. What about the millions of dollars, literally millions of dollars lost by not having a Parks and Rec district that is capable of applying for and receiving monies? And how about how we're handling the $2.1 million that we got in Prop 40? At some point, you fall below the critical level to administer an operation that's increasingly complex and competitive. And I'll add a couple more things. Most counties have a general services administration. There's somebody actually in charge of building and grounds and dealing with the purchasing and fleet management and the things that we part out to our departments, to great cost and great inefficiency and great pull away from the missions of those departments. Normally, that would be an administrative function in an entirely separate department. In this county, actually, those tasks fall to our three-person administration. I don't see even getting into the game when it comes time to do what really is required, and I believe that the Taxpayers Association has been hammering us on this. You can't have service cuts. You can't justify service cuts unless you've made a county that is the most efficient possible delivery of service that you can get. Is our structure keyed to that? Have we done the greatest efficiencies? And who's going to manage that? Are we asking each department to do this? Or, as we'll find out in the next discussion, does it fall to administration to try to organize the place for service, to deploy our resources not to an inefficient infrastructure, but to streamline it and to make it effective? Now, you could say there's irony in trying to add to an administrative apparatus to fix a broken one. But in my view, who's going to do the work? What level of skills are required to be able to analyze this budget, come up with strategies that can protect services and personnel as best possible under these kinds of economically trying times? I don't think our generation, I don't see a lot of Depression-era people in the room, maybe one or two, but yeah, I thought maybe. but I would have to say that our generation is facing a level of challenge that we're not used to. We've seen expansion almost all our lives, from the 1950s all the way through just a little while ago, with a couple of small glitches in between. This is a moment that's really different, and if we try to pattern ourselves in our approaches without deploying some resource to getting this right, to actually restructuring this, to develop intergovernmental relations, to develop JPAs, as we just heard, to create efficiencies in IHSS, rather than ask one little tiny thing to both administer and provide services, how are we going to develop the JPAs that we're going to need to survive this time? How are we going to develop the interagency, not just the interdepartmental work, but all of the intergovernmental work that will make this government function better to the point of service? To me, and I want to also add that I was the person who voted against the pay increases 4 years ago for administration. And I have always been for chop from the top before you get to the point of service. Because it's just, you want people, the whole point of government is to provide service. But if we don't have the capacity, the administrative capacity, to even get to analyze our current circumstance, let alone the administrative acumen to take us from where we are to a different approach to governing, and if the board can't get accurate information on where the finances are here, I'm just not sure how policymakers can get it right. And we have an increasing noise, a rising tide of anger about government. If we are to respond effectively, it's going to take some skills somewhere. And it's going to have to take big picture looks at what's going on. We're not going to solve it department by department. For that reason, I'm breaking my tradition of chop from the top and saying that this proposal before us is not only a good one, but may not be enough. We're downgrading what was a senior administrative analyst position, and my view is we need to upgrade it to a systems analyst, somebody who's got the background to take an entire structure and recalibrate it to today's realities. So I'm not satisfied that this is enough to really get what we need to do done. But in as much as I've already made that argument and lost, I will say that this is the best thing that we could do to try to create the efficiencies that may, in the end, not just save jobs and services, but rekindle some respect from a public that is wondering whether we can do anything well.
Thank you. I closed public comment, but since you're president of SEI, I'll let you do that.
I do not disagree with you, Supervisor Walensky. All of the opinions of increasing staff are probably very valid. I would question, and I believe the membership would, at what level you increase staff and by how many, and what the final outcome would be. For the 250,000 plus...
Could you speak into the mic, Mr. Herb?
For the 250,000 plus dollars you are proposing to spend, you could hire probably 4, 5, possibly 6 people from a clerical level up to account techs and lesser people. You want to build a management team, you need to have people at a lower level that do the work. You don't want a chief assistant CAO doing the work of a clerk. And in many departments, we have directors, deputy directors, and senior management doing the work that clerical people, that the lower paid echelon, the hard-working people, the educated people that you have hired can do for you as support. You don't need 2 high-level personnel in an already high-level area. You need people that can support that area. You need people that can get the information, analyze the information, give the information to the people that come to this board so you can make rational, educated decisions. You have the staff on board now to do that. You do not need to cut staff. You do not need to cut hours. You need to relook at disseminating the work around the county, move people around. Do not take for granted the talent that you currently have on board. There are other ways to do it. If you want to spend the $250,000 to get support and information and knowledge, use the people you have. Don't abuse them. Thank you.
Thank you. I've given Mr. Turley the courtesy since he's the president, but I've now brought it back to the board. Is there any comments, further comments from the board?
Yeah, I'd like to say a few words. Before coming to the Board of Supervisors here, I spent, I might say, a lifetime in construction, contracting, and in that period of time, I'm going to use a little metaphor here that I used to buy trucks pretty frequently, and I'm thinking of, forgive me, Ginny, but I think that you're a very heavy-duty truck.